beautiful, sexy Celtic supporting wanker, Callum Scott.
Don't you bring that up today.
So how are Celtic getting on in the Champions League, by the way?
This isn't a good way to start a podcast.
I got 5 points on Super 6 yesterday because of that.
Yep.
Anyway, it's been a while.
I don't have the change to pay the man for the ice cream.
What did you say there?
It said he doesn't have the change.
All you had to do was ask. Here's a 20. It's got my husband's face on it.
Hello?
Hello.
No, is it working? No, can you see me?
I don't. No, I can't. This is awful. Really rubbish.
And this is why we do this. This is live. Hang on.
I can hear you. This is like the podcast that we normally do. I can hear you, but I can't see. I can just see you looking like really pensive. We're at school, right? And someone gave you a $5. That would set you up for so much.
Who's this someone? It depends who's giving me the $5.
I'm not talking about you getting groomed. I mean,
well, you said someone's giving you a $5. I used to walk home from school and go to the chip shop on a Friday. If a random stranger went, "Here's a $5," I'd be like, "Perfect, I can get the chips and gravy now."
Oh, we're having a moment, it would appear. Already Tom's internet is having a moment, so I am going to play what was the introduction, but Tom has decided to die, so that's gone well, isn't it? It's started really well.
Day of learning, and after 13 years in government, you think that the Conservative Party would have learnt how to run the country. Callum, have they learnt yet?
Hi, Callum Scott here, Bedlam reporter, who was Forest Stage live from the Conservative Party conference here in Manchester, where I currently am right now.
Brilliant.
No.
Fantastic. Proud.
No, they haven't.
They haven't learnt. I don't really want to get my good suit wet.
No, true. That wasn't a problem for Mr. Sunak, though, as he announced the snap general election in the driving rain without an umbrella.
Hang on, you missed the part. Hang on, can you just say that again for me? Well, it used to be her going,
"Look, Philip, I'm a stamp."
Oh.
Welcome to the Bedlam podcast, an episode of uproar and confusion. It's been a while, and we're back with a working computer. Yes! Last time we tried to do this, it failed miserably, and we both ended up like throwing his computers out of the window because we were so fucking pissed off. So it so happens to be the Conservative Party conference, and loads of nonsense has been spouted, and Labour government has lost trust in the general public, or the general public has lost trust in the Labour government since the 4th of July. And we'll all touch on this later on, but first let's introduce everyone's favourite journalist and break down all things shit. It is Callum Scott. Callum, yeah, I see.
Be back on the Bedlam podcast. I said that like I was a guest, like it wasn't a half endeavour of mine as well, but you know.
Callum, I see. I've put in there break down all things shit, and you're wearing a Celtic shirt. Any update?
I don't think it needs to be addressed. I said it in the introduction, actually. Celtic in the Champions League goes together like Kemi Badenoch and responsible politics.
Michael, it is a penalty. Captain. Just over a minute later, though, and the chance for Celtic for the equals. But Borussia Dortmund come on the 29th minute, a corner here. It's an outswinger. It's half cleared. It will come for Adeyemi. And what a... He goes down. Girassi this time. O's. They're still not finished here yet, though, in the first half as Adeyemi pulled Schlotterbeck for Girassi, twisting, turning, and 6. And with just under 12 minutes to go, it's Sunmecha with the chance.
7.
Yeah.
7.
Yeah.
You need 2 hands to count to 7.
Yeah.
How many? Oh, yeah. You just need 1 hand for that, don't you?
Yeah.
It was a utterly disappointing night for both of us in football. You doubly. Me, not so much because I'm not a football fan no more.
Just got rid of it.
I've just gone, you know what? Fuck it. Can't be asked football no more. Not going to bother. Can't be asked. And I was right. I was very right.
More and more, it's looking like the correct decision.
Yeah. And everyone slated me for it, saying, why are you leaving? And why are you going to just go watch ice hockey every Saturday? And that's my reasoning behind it. And I was
didn't
right.
say a word.
No.
Because
Everyone else did.
I'm not in support of it, but I understand that probably having your weekends ruined was probably getting quite monotonous at the time. And you know, I'm still living that. I'm still living that. It's not a dream. It's another nightmare. It's like a liminal space between states of being.
It was getting very boring and very annoying.
Our phones are doing that weird crackly thing again.
Shit. I've thrown it away.
Me too. I've put it in a drawer.
Right. So, what have you been up to while we've been away? I think that was the last time that we've seen each other when we did the roundup of the government.
Yes, it was the roundup of the government. Do you remember that when we were all full of optimism and hope and joy and light? That's gone quite quickly, hasn't it?
Don't ruin it. We'll get there soon. No. So, what have you been up to?
Not a lot. To be fair, it's been quite quiet with a new government settling down into the swing of things. There's not really a lot to. Well, I thought there's not really a lot to talk about, and there's more things to talk about coming out now. So that's what's happening at the moment. I've literally this morning launched a new space for my shouting and wittering. It's called Parliament Square. At Parley Square on Twitter. If you want to please get after that. There's only one article on it at the minute, so I've only written one this morning. So I didn't write it this morning. I wrote it yesterday. Nice. So yeah, get on that, please. I want people to read the things that I write.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I'm just shouting at nobody like a tramp at a bus stop.
You were changing your little Twitter thing, weren't you?
Little Twitter thing to just at C Scott Tramp.
You look like a tramp in that Celtic shirt.
Oh, nice.
Well, last time I went to Scotland, they were all wearing them.
Yeah.
Even outside the Celtic shirt, Celtic shop. Right. Well, we have some stuff to talk about, and we're not going to start with the Labour government because, yeah, why start with the Labour government when all we've done for the last 2 years is just slander and slate the Conservatives? So, shall we start where we mean to, like, go off or whatever? What the saying is.
Let's do that.
Yeah. So we have Kemi Badnock, we've got James Cleverly, Robert Jenrick, and Tom Tugendhat. They're all contenders for the Conservative Party leader because, obviously, if you don't remember, Rishi Sunak is stepping down. But could one of them become Prime Minister in 2029? With infighting already playing out amongst the candidates and outgoing leader Rishi Sunak calling for party unity, can whoever is successfully chosen last until and even win the next general election. Well, first off, let's have a look. So the government approval. So this is from 2011 all the way till September of 2024. And as you can see, it's everyone's been disapproving, apart from when you get to that part in the middle. I think that's around 2022, 2023, when it goes up a little bit. And then this is this year. Obviously, as you can see, the disapproval went down when the Labour government came back in, but it's all of a sudden just started to rise again. And that, we will remove that from the stage because I can't remember who's next. But as I'll say, this person, this is Kemi Badnoch. She has spoken in the Conservative Leadership Party race conference in Birmingham. She started off saying it's time to tell the truth, and for too long, politicians have been afraid to tell the truth, told the public what they want to hear, and done their own thing. Well, I say enough. I've seen the system from inside. I've seen the system from inside the system, and it's broke. Callum?
It's broke. I've seen it from inside. It's broke. Yeah. How do you want to do this? How do you want?
She misses her dad.
She mean I miss my dad. So, because you don't know what we're on about, we are of course talking about the speeches this morning.
I miss my dad.
So, Kemi Badenoch spoke a lot about the system being broken, didn't specify which system was actually broken, whether she thought it was the internal politics of the Conservative Party that was broken, or Westminster as a whole, or the voting system as a whole in this country. What I really thought was interesting was that she highlighted a lot of problems that appeared to be created by the Conservative government of the last 14 years. You know, the idea that, what does she say? It's not enough to be in government, which is a fair assessment. You know, making reference to the current Labour Party standing still and not really doing much. Fair enough, but it doesn't make much sense speaking from someone that was formerly a cabinet minister and was in government. If you're saying that now, that it's not enough just to be in government, then what were you doing when you were in government?
Yeah, I get that. I mean, I just want to go on to a quote from the former Conservative leader, Sir Ian Duncan Smith. He did say that the party must make serious progress back towards being the governing party by the next general election, or it will be on its way out. The Chingford and Woodford Green MP said, "What we need to understand is what do the public feel about the Conservative Party that made them so determined, and they were so determined to have us out. They don't just desert us, they deserted us with a very clear agenda." Sir Ian said the party needs to figure out why it's very badly lost the general election before putting forward policy ideas. And I sort of think that the majority of the speeches at the Conservative Party conference are about that. And I don't think they're sort of here to sort of continue the party going on. We've seen in one of the speeches as well from one of the other contenders that, you know, they'd want to create a new Conservative government, and that's what they need to do. They absolutely got pummeled and got nailed on the 4th of July, and it's just been a backing of their own disaster all the way through. So they do need to sort of go back and see what is wrong with the whole party. And Kemi started off doing it and basically said, this is what we've done wrong. This is what we need to do better. So let's see what else they'll say over the next coming weeks, because it's the end of October, is it? So we get whittled down to 2 in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, so it's the last think it's one of the last days in October. Could well be the last day. I can't remember off the top of my head. But going on what that comment there from Ian Duncan Smith and what you were saying, I think we have to remember that in this country, elections are won from the centre ground.
Yeah.
They're not won from the hard left, and they're certainly not won from the hard right. They're won from the centre ground. If the Conservatives want to get back into power, it's that centre ground that Labour wrestled back off them that they have to win over again.
Yeah.
You cannot appeal to one sect of the British public. You have to appeal to most of them, with the hard left and the hard right being the ones that you don't appeal to. You have to win the centre. What we're seeing, what we saw from Boris Johnson was a masterclass in winning the centre ground. He won so well because he cut through to pretty much everybody.
Yeah.
That's what you need to do. What you don't want to do is remodel and reshape the Conservative Party into this far-right capitalist machine that will appeal to reform voters and appeal to hardline Conservatives. But when it comes to winning over the country, I think if you were a Conservative, you'd worry about candidates like Kemi Badenoch, like Robert Jenrick, because they seem to want to move the Conservative machine right over to the right, further right than Thatcher.
Yeah.
So I think it's worrying if you are a centre ground Conservative that the party seems to be leaning towards the far right change that these two candidates, don't get me wrong, they do have Conservative values, traditional Conservative values of low tax, high spend, and back in business, but those policies are overshadowed by the large, the comments that Badenoch's made on maternity leave, maternity pay, the national living wage, things like that seem, and that's leaving out immigration, but that's a whole separate problem. We're moving further away from the centre ground, and when elections are won in the centre ground, that's really worrying.
Well, let's move away from Kemi Badenoch. You have named the next person, Robert Jenrick. So he is another close to the front of the race, has positioned himself as Thatcher's heir in his speech, vowing to change the Tory party the way she did in the 1970s. A woman as strong as the iron cast in my dad's foundry. He went on to say the country just voted for change and all we've got is more managed decline. He calls for a new Conservative Party, echoing Blair's new Labour. He did also make 5 key statements for what the Tories must do before the next general election, or what they hope to do. So they are looking at securing the borders, so deport anyone who comes illegally, net zero, stand for cutting emissions but not on the backs of working people, get Britain building again while protecting the countryside, build a state that works, and identity and culture. He also added he will cut aid budget and commit to 3% of GDP on defence.
Yeah. So I think realistically, Robert Jenrick sees himself more of a traditional Conservative than the other candidates, perhaps. What was he? I can't remember off the top of my head. He became more right wing as time has gone on. He was centrist at the start of his career. He was more of a centrist than he is now. I think that's because he's seen that the right wing vote and the populist policies that he's coming out with, such as he's been by far and away the most vocal MP on wanting to take the UK out of the European Court of Human Rights. He's wanted to do that. He's been the most vocal about that, and that is a shift to the right. That is very, very right in terms of his politics. Let's not forget the reason that he resigned from Rishi Sunak's cabinet was that he felt that the Rwanda scheme didn't go far enough, and that it wasn't a good enough deterrent. He's been the most outspoken on the fact that they failed to deliver on their promises of cutting migration. And he's I don't really know what to make of Robert Jenrick, because he speaks brilliantly, which can win over a lot of people. He's got a conviction in what he's saying, but fundamentally what he's saying, I think if he was the leader of the opposition, I think a lot of what he's saying he would realise is things that you can say in a leadership debate, but you can't push in Parliament as the leader of the opposition.
Yeah, he's a little bit like what's his face, Nigel Farage, a little bit very outspoken, and if you don't follow what I say, then there's other people to choose, basically. But it's not really the way to go, as you've said about the middle ground and stuff like that. You need to win these people over. You've lost a lot of people. There's a new there's a new party out there now that's trying to take and scoop up the people that you lose, and they've done a good job of doing it by scooping all those people up. And if you want to carry on going, as Ian Duncan Smith says, if you don't do a good, decent job this time round, there won't be a Conservative Party at the next general election.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Moving on. Next, it's James Cleverly. I have pulled him up already on something that you said. I haven't got much about James Cleverly because I just think he's a boring person. And he's just stupid. He's plain stupid. And I don't know how. He was Defence Secretary, wasn't he?
He was.
I just don't get it. I mean, one of those missiles in Ukraine should have hit him. Sorry. But James Cleverly, like other Tory leadership hopefuls, wants to scrap the licence fee for the BBC. He went on to say that he also wants to see greater spend from foreign countries that consume BBC content, like that very well-known, popular BBC programme Peppa Pig. That's not made or owned by the BBC, saying China should fund Peppa Pig because it's very popular in China. As I said, it has nothing to do with the BBC because Peppa Pig is owned by Hasbro Entertainment, and it has been since 2019 from when they acquired it from Entertainment One for £3.27 billion. It's on BBC iPlayer, James. Your kids might watch it every single day on BBC iPlayer, but it's not a BBC program. The BBC pay for Peppa Pig. Thank you.
Yeah. What's worrying about that is that the small amount of fact checking that took before you said it, you'd have thought Conservative leadership hopeful would have done the same amount, if not more, research, but apparently not.
Absolutely. James Cleverly has also said, let's be more like Reagan. Let's be more enthusiastic, optimistic. Let's be more normal.
So James Cleverly is probably going towards that centre-right. So he is a centrist politician, nearly. But he does quite like sending immigrants to Rwanda. In fact, he said that if he was in government, he would bring it back. He'd bring that policy right back. He's spoke about making the Conservative Party think like Conservatives again, which implies that in his government or in his cabinet they haven't been. That's what I'm finding the most difficult about these things, is that we're having these speeches and we're having these conversations almost pretending like they haven't been in government for the last 14 years, and a lot of the problems that they're bringing up are the problems that they have created or failed to fix.
But this is also the same government that said that there wasn't an issue over the last 14 years, and the problem is going to be Labour over the next 5.
Yeah, that was said again today.
Right.
Badenoch said that today. That the Labour government is socialism in a suit. That it's clear that Labour will leave a mess. It's clear that Labour will leave a mess behind. But what we're seeing currently is that Labour trying to fix the mess that's been left behind by the previous Conservative governments, all of which these hopefuls have been members of various cabinets, held various positions of state.
Yep. They are the ones that have been in the position to ruin it and are now saying they're going to ruin it.
Look, it's ruined.
It's like, look, I've said it before, I'm going to say it again. You know, it is going to get worse before it gets better. And I don't know how long that is going to take. And judging from all the YouGov polls and stuff like that, we do have some areas of points of that need to be addressed by the Labour government. And they're probably potentially going to do that. I've got something from James. No, it's not James, is it? Hunt. Jeremy Hunt.
James Hunt. That's his weekend name.
I was thinking the other word that I don't want to say because I don't want it to wrong. And then I found his name. But I've got something from him of what he said, and it's just like, you know, how can you be so blasé about what you're saying when you've been the one that's been dealing with the money for the last how many years has he been it, or months or whatever? You know, you've got that figure on a piece of paper. You know what you left the government with. So stop being an absolute ass about it and just start being genuine. You know, start being honest. Stop being a complete absolute dick. And just be honest and open about stuff, and just say, look, yeah, okay, we didn't do it right. We didn't do it right. We had so many different leaders of the Conservative Party, which, you know, ultimately ended in different leaders of the Prime Minister, you know. And I don't think it should work like that. I think if you get ousted as the leader of the Conservatives, you need to sort of re-elect for it. And it needs to be a public election, because that person is going in to run our government. And if you're shit at running a government or shit at running anything in general, then you're going to be ousted again, such as Liz Truss. You know, that lettuce really did fucking numbers on her. And it's just like, how can a lettuce should not be able to outlast a prime minister? A prime minister should be, it's like a puppy. Christmas is coming up. A puppy is not just for Christmas, it's for life. Prime Minister, it's not just for a fucking big massive paycheck at the end of it. It's for it's ruining people's lives at the end of the day. So take it a little bit more seriously and stop fucking people up, because just because you're getting big massive dollars at the end of it, stop being an ass.
This is the problem with careerist politicians.
Yeah.
I don't think we see, certainly of the list of 3 that you've just given, each of them are careerist politicians. They're not in it for the good of the country, although they might say they are.
Yeah.
That, however, leads us quite nicely onto the last one.
Tom Tugendhat.
The only non-careerist of all of them.
So he has said that he is the man of substance and principles to lead the Tories in his conference speech. I've had enough of Westminster's political game. It's not becoming of our great party or great nation. I will grip this party so we are ready to take on Labour. I will defeat Labour and lead us back to power in 5 years' time. We cannot afford Labour. I cannot afford Labour. Lord Ali cannot afford Labour.
Clever.
Did you know he's been in the army?
He mentions it a couple of times in every media event that he does.
Let me just...
Nothing, but we all realise by now, Tom, that you were actually in the Territorial Army. Yeah.
Right, so I'm just going to pull this back. Which Tory leader? So this is down to Politics UK on Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it. Right, so which Tory leadership speech impressed you the most? Last place with 18.2% of the vote, Kevin Badnock. In third, 22.1%, Robert Jenrick. In second, who do you reckon?
I'm saying Tom Cleverly. Not Tom Cleverly, he's a footballer. James Cleverly.
29.1% of the vote, James Cleverly, and 30.5% Tom Tugendhat. So we are going to now go on to Tom Tugendhat, and Callum is going to carry on.
Indeed. So, Tommy T, the T-Star. Currently Shadow Security Minister. And he's seen an opportunity here because he is the only centrist, the true centrist of all of them. So he's pledged a cap on the UK's net migration at 100,000 a year. He's not ruled out leaving the ECHR. I believe he doesn't want to do that. That's something that can get right-wing MPs, party members on his side. But by saying he's not said that he will, and he's not said that he won't. So it's a really good way of trying to get them on side. He's pledged to make the Conservative Party a serious force again, and has made a point of apologising for the conduct of his party when it was in government.
Is this the guy that saved the police officer outside Parliament?
Yes.
Or is that the other guy? Oh, it is. Okay, cool.
I think so.
I couldn't remember if it was the other guy or not. Come on, carry on.
This tells you quite a lot. I think it's a small detail, but in the Brexit referendum, he voted Remain, which shows you that I don't think will pander to the drag of the right wing in the Conservative Party at the minute. I think it's quite a reactionary drag to the right from a party that's hurt, where they need to understand that keeping themselves and then regaining the centre ground from Labour is how you will win the election if you are going to win it. And I think out of all of them, not to be partisan, because it was Tobias Ellwood. They also
wasn't him.
One backbench Conservative MPs could all just have one name, and it would just be Sir Winston McGonigal or something. It's just all the same person. But,
no, but Tobias Ellwood is in the army as well. I think he was a medic. I think he was a medic in the army, and then when the police officer gets stabbed outside of Parliament, that I can't remember when it was. He tried to save his life.
Yeah, was ultimately unsuccessful.
Yeah, but he did a good job. Anyway,
yeah, Tom Tugendhat has obviously gone for a leadership race previously.
I should have really started with that.
He went up against Liz Truss, obviously, which he lost. But then, at that point, he pitched himself as offering a fresh start and to bridge the Brexit divide.
Wait, did you say that he lost?
He lost, yeah.
Tom Tugendhat, in his conference speech, said, "My mission is to win the next general election, and I have never failed a mission yet."
Yeah.
Another liar.
Yeah, that's not true.
If he didn't put it, he might not have put that down as being his main mission. That might not have been his mission.
My mission was to get up on stage with Liz Truss. Success.
My mission was to make her look like a fucking imbecile.
Success. Well, she won.
She looked like a fucking idiot after when she tried to do that.
That's true. That's true. I'll take that. But yeah, Tom
failed.
So one thing that I've just seen, which breaks it down quite well, and I am shamelessly stealing this off Twitter, but I don't care. Jenrick's frontrunner status has become a burden, creating very high expectations. He did not meet them, and he was certainly overshadowed. Kemi was confident. I'm still not sure if the public quite understand what she's selling. She dealt a huge blow by knockout performance from James Cleverly, and it leaves the race, what we've seen today, leaves the race for the final two and the winner more open than ever. And I've stolen that off Christine Calgie on Twitter.
Rachel Reeves has dyed her hair ginger.
I've just seen that. I have just seen that. She looks like poor man's Angela Rayner.
Right, so while we're still on Tom Tugendhat, a little bit of a summary of the leadership speeches. So we've got he's a man of substance and principles to lead the Tories and win the next general election. Tories need a Thatcher-style revolution. The country can't afford Labour. I can't afford Labour, and Lord Ali can't afford Labour. He's had enough of Westminster political games. Wants to make Tory voters proud to vote Tory again. Keir Starmer's government is the most venal and vindictive government in decades. I will grip this party so we are ready to take on Labour. We will rebuild CCHQ from the ground up, putting you members at the heart of the party and to turn it into the campaigning winning machine. My mission is to win the next general election. I've never failed a mission yet. Well, you have. Conservative leadership changes lives. Yeah, we know because there's been so many of you, and you're all now living the life of fucking Riley. The UK needs an executive deterrent on legal migration with a cap of 100,000 per year. But what other candidates won't tell you is that we issued the visas because businesses need the staff for our care homes and our hospitals to look after our families, and he pledged to strip away excess regulations and barriers from the NHS and offer a great education wherever you live. Well, that is that, and let's move on to the government of what it is. Just speaking about the NHS then. And one thing that's going to happen is the new winter fuel allowance. So it's a new thing that they're doing this year. So the government are means testing the winter fuel allowance. So this means that you need to hit a certain criteria to receive this benefit. So this could have a huge implication on the NHS and it costing the NHS millions, if not billions, to help with this. So the certain criteria to receive the winter fuel allowance is you must be of state pension age or above. You must have been living in the UK for at least 1 day during the qualifying week. You must also receive pension credit or other means tested benefits, such as income support or universal credit. The change to means testing was announced by the new Chancellor Rachel Reeves, who now has ginger hair. In July 2024, the government approved the changes in a vote for the House of Commons on the 10th of September. The change is expected to restrict the winter fuel allowance to around 1.4 million pensioners. This is because around 10 million pensioners who previously received the allowance will not be eligible this year. And the deadline to claim the winter fuel payment is the 31st of March 2025. So it's not like an instant thing that will come flying into your bank and stuff like that. But yeah, so Callum, your take on the winter fuel allowance?
I think it's being perceived to be far worse than it actually is. And that is a mistake in government communication. I think they could have done more to sell it to the electorate and explain it a little bit more, because when you say we are taking away, people only hear we are taking away.
Yeah.
What you don't say is we're means testing it so that those pensioners with more money will it sounds wrong to say it, but I'm going to say it because I don't care. that don't need extra help from the government don't receive extra help from the government. And that way, the money can be redistributed to those that do. So actually, you're not taking away and leaving. You're taking away and redistributing to everybody in need.
Yeah.
So I don't see it as necessarily a bad thing, but I do think that the way that it's been communicated, the way that it's been received, is the fault of the government for not clarifying what it was that they were talking about when they talked about bringing it in. And the fact that it wasn't in the manifesto is a very, very, very silly thing to do. I appreciate that when they've come into office, there's things that they've seen that haven't maybe been as they expected, but for something that large, you have to put it in the manifesto. Otherwise, people will look at you and say, well, it wasn't in the manifesto. You've sprung this policy on us. It's not a popular policy. Therefore, we don't like it. Therefore, we can't trust you.
Yeah, and I think going on to trust is basically what I said about earlier about Jeremy Hunt. So I just can't get my head around, like, you either know how much is left or you don't know how much is left. So stop spouting shit, basically. And if you're basically saying one thing, then back it up instead of like just coming out with just random shit. So he's basically been talking at the Conservative Party conference in Birmingham. And Jeremy Hunt has claimed the government could have a budget surplus of £39 billion rather than the fictitious £22 billion black hole it says it inherited from the Tories. So basically, in layman's terms, they have £39 billion that's just sat there not doing anything rather than a £22 billion black hole of where they have to try and find all this money from everywhere around taxes and things like that and try and make that smaller. So Jeremy Hunt is basically saying they have more money than what they have. The Shadow Chancellor also raised concerns that welfare reform will be untouchable under Labour, following the backlash to its plan to means test the winter fuel allowance. So at the Conservative Party conference in Birmingham, Mr. Hunt said, "You don't have to take my word for it. Just read this week's Economist, where there's an article saying that Rachel Reeves could have actually not a black hole of £22 billion, but a surplus of £39 billion to play with in the budget." The Financial Times did a Freedom of Information request to the Treasury to ask where the fictitious £22 billion number came from. And the reply they got back from the Treasury was, "We can't give you the workings because we're not sure they're accurate." He went on to say, "It is going to be, of course, a challenge to bring the tax burden down, but we'd started on that journey, and I don't pretend it doesn't require difficult decisions. But it's a very important strategic decision if we want to be a dynamic economy."
Okay. So,
Strange.
Jeremy Hunt is incorrect. The source material that he's referring to, where he's got these numbers from for a surplus, does not say that there is a surplus. It almost tells you how you could create one. It doesn't say that there is one.
Yeah.
So for him to go out and say there is a surplus of this amount of money, that's incorrect. That is just false, entirely false. And you can't argue with the fact that the previous Conservative government left the public finances in a much worse state than when it inherited them, and also has left a very difficult situation for Rachel Reeves, the Chancellor, to try and navigate the way out of. So at the moment, if she says that £22 billion is needed to get out of this financial black hole, I'm tempted to believe her. Let's not forget, Jeremy Hunt was Chancellor, but he has never been a Chancellor before. He is not an economist. Rachel Reid has worked at the Bank of England. She is an economist by trade. She knows what she's talking about. And why would a government make up a £22 billion black hole and deliver what we speculate will be, at the end of this month, one of the harshest budgets possibly ever? Why would you do that to people if you didn't need to? If the government was in surplus money, you wouldn't need to tax and spend.
Yeah.
It makes no sense.
I just think he's trying to impress some people before he loses his job, basically. Yeah. And he's not impressing anyone. He's just continuing on the lies that started with the Conservatives, and it keeps going on. Did you have a party during lockdown? No. Did you have a party during lockdown? I've got all this evidence here to say that you did. No, we didn't do that. I have photos here to say that you were pouring Boris Johnson a glass of wine in his back garden at a party in 10 Downing Street during lockdown, during the rules which you created as a government. You broke them. I didn't.
Yeah, exactly.
Just stop bullshitting. Just start telling the truth. Just stop being a dick. Stop being an idiot and just learn, man. Learn from your mistakes. Apologize and just move on from it.
So, in his storied career, he's been the Chancellor. He's now the Shadow Chancellor. He's also been the Health Secretary, the Foreign Secretary, the Secretary for Culture, Media and Sport, and a member for international development in the International Development Committee. Now, either he is a genius, or at least 2 or 3 of those officers he has no direct connection to. So, to sit there and criticise a Chancellor who has direct work experience in the real world, in finance, in the Treasury, in the Bank of England, how dare you?
So, while we're still on the winter fuel thing, so 23% of Britons say they thought Labour were going to do well but feel let down so far. And let's basically say that the winter fuel payments is the thing that is the main reason for that. So this has come from YouGov between 19th and 20th of September of this year. I've just clicked off it. It's on the screen over here, so we'll go from that. So you said the Labour government, I expect them to do well, but I've been disappointed. What is the main / biggest reason you think of this? Percentage of 607 Britons who gave the answer to a prior question. Respondents answered in their own words, which our AI topic quantifier model has organized into the categories below. So the first column is all who said they expected Labour to do well, but have been disappointed. 28 of them. Is that right? 28% said changes to winter fuel payments. 2024 Labour voters who said they expected Labour to do well. So everyone said that they're going to do well, and people who voted Labour who said they're going to do well. Yeah. Right, okay. Yeah, so a big number. Changes to the winter fuel payments. It's big. Hitting pensioners. Don't advise hitting pensioners because it may be the last thing that you do to them.
Old people can't beat them. Shame.
Yeah. So yeah, that's the second big thing. Prioritizing the wrong things. Comment on that?
There's a lot going on at the minute. Prioritizing the wrong things. Changes to the winter fuel payments came before any meaningful legislation on the rising tensions in the Middle East.
Yeah. Not doing enough and lack of change.
I particularly agree with that.
It's a pound. I've a lack of change. I've a lack of change, Callum.
I think that there's been enough time now to get into this government and realise the problems and start making changes. Now, I think that I know the changes have been made. A lot of changes have been made. It's just the communication strategy from the government has been so poor in telling people what the changes have been. In fact, I found something the other day. Hold on.
Well done.
Do some Phil.
Do some Phil. I don't know anyone called Phil, so I can't do him. Sorry.
Right. So, in the first 100 days, the Labour Party have set up the National Well Fund, scrapped the Rwanda plan, started the COVID corruption inquiry, started the process of bringing public bus services under control, authorised compensation for infected blood scandal victims, set up a 24/7 NHS mental health helpline, created a child poverty task force, free breakfast clubs for children from April 2025, introduced plans to remove all hereditary peers from the House of Lords, started setting up GB Energy, started the process of bringing railways into public ownership, committed to Hillsborough law to ensure those responsible for public disasters won't escape justice, improved access to social housing for veterans, care leavers and domestic abuse victims, a ban on ninja swords, consulting on plans to boost minimum energy efficiency standards for rented homes, announced a new body to reduce the number of women going to prison, and a new foundation apprenticeships to get more young people working. In 100 days, that is a lot of things.
As you were reading all that out, I just thought I'd put this on screen, which is basically public have a net negative view on the Labour government handling of all issues. It's how well or badly do you think the government is handling the following issues? Sorry to the viewers on Spotify, by the way.
Yeah, there's a lot
visual,
of sexy graph action going on that you're getting none of.
Yeah. Right. So you mentioned on their NHS and NHS thing, and it's one of the biggest sort of barriers you can barge you can see that is badly. About 64% of the general public think that they're doing badly with the NHS.
Yeah.
When one of the things that they've done is sort out the doctor striking.
Yeah. So I think the problem with these polls is that a lot of those people will not have come across a Labour change in those areas and therefore will have a negative view. That isn't necessarily true. I don't know how you can have a bad view of the Labour's handling of terrorism when there has been no domestic terrorism under the Labour leadership.
But how have we been doing well with the handling of terrorism and defence? And how can they say that they've had a good handling of education when one of the main things that people were complaining about was the VAT on privatized schools?
Yeah. So I think a lot of this you have to take with a pinch of salt at the minute, because I don't know where it's come from. I know it's YouGov, but I don't know who's been asked this. If you're going to go into a hospital and ask nurses whether they think that the government's handling the NHS well, they're all going to say no. Because the government haven't had time to implement the change that's needed, because the change that's needed is massive. Not to be a Labour Party shill or anything, and I'm really trying my best to be impartial here, but I think people just need to chill out. You know, that we, for once in possibly 14 years, although I should give David Cameron some credit for all his faults, he was an actual real person. We've got a government that's taking things seriously and not just creating policy for political gain. You know, no government would want to take the decision to cut the winter fuel allowance, because it is very hard to win over people when you say, well, we've made your pensioners cold. But it's a necessary evil for overall positive, hopefully. And we're going to see a lot of that. This budget that's coming up in October is going to be horrendous. There's going to be a lot of, I suspect, tax rises, lots of tax rises, not a lot of investment, possibly cuts to investment in public services, because the short term, that money is needed to guarantee the long term.
So it says here underneath this graph, with Labour having not been in office for 3 months, these results may primarily reflect attitudes to the government more broadly for the time being. If instead we look across a clutch of specific actions the Labour government has taken since coming to office, the results prove more of a mixed bag. Despite significant opposition from many within the party, Keir Starmer's decision to keep the child benefit cap set to 2 children has earned the public's approval, with 61% backing the call. An identical number has also approved of the government agreeing new pay deals with the striking junior doctors. Likewise, most of the public back Labour's decision to lift the ban on onshore wind farms in England by 57% and to suspend some arms sales to Israel by 55%. More controversial has been the paid deal the government reached with striking train drivers, with 45% approval of, but 43% disapprove of. While most people are against the government's changes to the winter fuel allowance for pensioners, 57%, and particularly the decision to release prisoners early in order to avoid jail overcrowding, 70%. So, yeah. So we'll move on to this. So since Labour have taken over, Keir Starmer and Labour's net favourability ratings have fallen significantly. So the YouGov tracker data shows that only 23% of Britons approve of the government's record so far. So this was recorded between the 20th and the 22nd of September, which was compared to 53% who disapprove. On specific policy areas, there is likewise net disapproval across all 15 areas we asked about. Views on the government are most negative when it comes to immigration. Only 16% have a positive view, on 67% have one negative view. More worryingly for Labour, the job performance on the key issues of the NHS, the area Britons are most likely to say they should prioritise, is almost as bad, with 64% saying they are managing the health service badly and 19% say well. So with Labour's ratings on our trackers having taken a knock, a separate new YouGov survey shows that a quarter of Britons, 23%, say of the new government, I expect them to do well, but I have been disappointed. This is twice the number who have said I expect them to do well, and they have done well, 11%, with only an additional 3% saying they expected the party to do poorly, but have been pleasantly surprised. Labour voters in particular are likely to feel like they have been let down. 36% said they expected better, which is actually the most common answer among the group. 29% say they have positive expectations, which are being met. And that's that one there. Yeah.
People have been disappointed for now in the short term because, they've not been able to probably move at the pace that they wanted. That's not necessarily the fault of the party in government, but the party that were previously in government. No,
and also the everything that's going on in the background as well, such as Ukraine, Russia, and the things in the Middle East, and also the next thing that we're going to bring up, which is, let's remove this from the stage. Have a guess. What do you reckon it's going to be, Callum?
Oh, this could be anything. I didn't think it was going to be that.
2-tier policing. So, Many Britons think the police are more lenient with some groups and are more strict with others, but there is a disagreement over how that is applied. So an accusation that has been leveled at the police by many on the right in recent weeks has been that they are engaging in two-tier policing. So that is to say, the police have been treating minority groups more leniently than white people, particularly in context of the recent anti-immigration protests when compared to Black Lives Matter or the pro-Palestine rallies. So basically, the reason why they're removing all these people from prisons is to stop the overcrowding because of all the riots that have been happening. And you know, if you went to one of those riots and you threw a vape, you get 2 years in prison for it.
Yeah.
Whereas all the people during the Black Lives Matter riots and stuff like that, none of them got sent to prison.
No, but I think you're not looking at it through the eyes of a government that are settled and in control and in charge. You know, that's the sort of thing that you do not want in your first 100 days of the Premiership.
No.
Because everyone expects a response from you. And whether you judge it right or wrong, you are going to have critics on both sides. For the record, I think what Labour have done works. The policy works if you don't announce beforehand that the prisons are too full.
Yeah.
The policy of coming down hard on people committing crime is not a bad one.
But they did say in the past and previously that there was going to be an early release scheme, and that the prisons are getting overcrowded, and they were going to try and bring that down. They did mention that. They did say that.
Yeah, they did say that, and that again. Okay, but you cannot sit there as a government and say the prisons are too full. We need to build more prisons. This is the fault of the Conservatives that the prisons are too full. We're going to release some prisoners, and then go, we're going to hand down 10-year sentences for rioters. Where are they going to go? Yeah. It's simple contradictions like that make people question what the government is doing, that make people question whether, well, actually, you know, we all thought Labour would be good, but is this a risk worth taking anymore? Do they really know what they're doing? Because the mindset of this country has always been that the Conservatives are the party of government. Look at the number of times that Labour have been elected to government. 4. In the history of democracy in this country, 4 times have Labour been in government. So you don't need to do much to give people a negative view of a Labour government.
No, you don't. Is Keir Starmer strong enough to get through the shitstorm and get us to the end of the light of where he says, this is what we were aiming for, this is the change that we were looking at, and this is the place that we wanted to be? Is he strong enough to get there, or is he basically going to just take the slack and someone else is going to take over from him and get us to that position that he wants to be at?
I hope he is strong enough, and for me, he is strong enough only with his core team around him.
And he's been with that team for a while, because as we've mentioned previously in the podcast, you know, that they've been the shadow government.
Yeah,
with him as
exactly.
well.
So I think with that team around him, they will do well because they each know their briefs inside out. You know, the Labour Party has spent so long in opposition, you can't not know the job that you're going into after all that time. So I think they will get there. I think what they're doing is right. I think the way that they're communicating, they're not celebrating their wins as much as they are giving airtime to the people that are trying to bring them down.
So I've not really been watching from the outside in, and I've been doing a lot of revision and work over the last 24 hours to get me back to this position of podcast. And I've said it before. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. It is hard to change it around from one government to another. We have to remember the Conservatives have been in charge for 14 years, and they have been doing what they believe is right. And everything that they believe is right in the eyes of Labour is wrong. We have had so much shit going on over the last 14 years. We've had to fight a pandemic. We've had millions of thousands of people lose their lives due to a pandemic. We've had the lies from the Conservatives about, what's right and what's wrong regarding all of this. And no one has ever had to deal with anything like that. And in my opinion, I believe the Conservative government did what was right to fight and tackle that pandemic.
Yeah.
Yes, maybe we could have released people back into the world sooner, or we should have, locked down sooner. But we're never going to find out whether that was the right or wrong decision. We do have a quick growing economy that, in the right hands and used with the right people, you can make lots of money on. And, you need to do it right. You need to find the right things and the right people to do that. And if you don't, then you're just going to do shit. We produce a lot of stuff in this country that gets shipped around the whole world. We buy in a lot of stuff as well. And then since the whole war between Russia and Ukraine, which was a big, massive thing as well, which just depleted some of the economic value of the country, we've had to find alternate ways, such as, farming in Britain, which should have been one big, massive thing because we've got so much farmland and farmers are so good in the UK. We need to buy British. The only downside to that war in Russia and Ukraine is the whole fact of that we don't have our own power source in the UK. And we outsource that, and we've always outsourced that. And then having to then quickly find that money to be able to grow our own powerhouse there. And that has been one of the biggest manifestos from Labour. And I don't think I've seen anything on it.
No, not well, apart from the fact that they've started to set it up.
Yeah. And it needs to be a little bit more quicker. We need to be able to look after our people easier than, and that's what it's about. For me, it's about looking after our own people. And I'm not just saying that as I'm a white person and we have to look after white people. No, I'm not saying that at all. Every single person that is in this country legally is our own. You got a British citizenship, or you are in this country for good reasons and stuff like that. You are one of our own. It doesn't matter what color you are. It doesn't matter what size and shape you are. It doesn't matter what your background is. It doesn't matter if your mum's second uncle's auntie is still living in India or wherever. You're here and you live in this country. So at the end of the day, you are one of our own. We've got to look after the people, Thank you. We've got to look after people that are veterans that have been there, done that. They've fought in the wars. They've fought for your freedom. They've fought for your rights in this country. Why are we not looking after them? Why are they the ones that are sat homeless on the street? The nights are getting colder now. Why are we not putting them up in hotels? And why are we not looking after them, keeping them warm and doing something about it? Why? They are the reason why we are in this position now, not the government. The government have fuck all to do with the reason why we're in this position now. It's those people that have fought for you in this country. We could all be speaking fucking German and shit like that right now, but we're not. We're speaking English and we're trying to make Britain great again. I grimaced when I said that.
Yeah, me too. I was blank.
Yeah, I'm finished, mate.
That was good. I enjoyed that. Good rant there. It's always fun when you do that.
But it's I've got a big brain. I've got an opinion on it and stuff like that. And people that turn around and say, "But you're only saying that you're racist and stuff like that." No, it's not. It's got nothing to do with race at all. It doesn't matter. I live in a place where, like, Muslims outpopulate the British people. There's like Palestine. There's fucking Palestine flags on every street corner where I live. I don't care. I'm not bothered. I'm not a race person. I don't give a shit. We're all human. We're all living on this fucking planet for one thing. Yeah. We're all on this planet. Treat people as you wish to be treated. I'm not going to turn around and start being racist and stuff like that because that's not how I've been brought up. That's not my moral. I treat people how I wish to be treated. I'm not going to start fucking running around shanking people and stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, daddy. Yeah. And let me clear this up. I don't think I've said anything bad. And if I have said anything bad, I apologize. It's my public apology before anything comes out and me get cancelled.
Getting cancelled before you've even started.
But no, I've had this opinion for a while, and I've always wanted the government to actually do something about it. But I understand that you can't always go and do stuff for your people in the country because there's other people in the country as well. As it's not just white British nationals, and you can't always do stuff because you're gonna get made out to be racist and stuff like that at the end of the day. So
yeah, I think the problem is you can say those things, and as long as you understand how complex those issues are, that's fine. But you get a lot of the time where people say those fucking things and they've got no perception of what it would take to implement them safely.
yeah.
So and a lot of the time it's all well and good to say we need to do this and we need to do that, but looking at it politically, where does the money come from?
39 billion surplus there, mate.
Shut the fuck up. As in our surplus, hey, what a country.
Do you know what? I'm feeling very old,
Very old.
I'm feeling very old. Very, very old.
Why? Happy birthday, dear Thomas. Happy birthday to you.
Yes, today is my 30th birthday.
He's a jolly good fellow. But he's a jolly good fellow. And so say all of us. Sorry. How old will you be tomorrow?
30. Today. 30. I'm 30, Callum. I'm a 30-year-old. My back hurts. I need a Zimmer frame.
Tom, you're all to me and everyone else watching this. It's safe to say you will always be young at heart. Even if you're actually not. We'll only get older. Can only get shitter.
Do you know, right? Out of all that 1 hour 15, I just crashed then.
Wow. Maybe it's D-Ream. Maybe your computer doesn't like D-Ream.
No, there was one thing that I wanted to bring up, and it was regarding this band here. So, someone has tickets for their gig in Manchester next year. And there's a bit of controversy of how much he paid for his ticket. Because some say he used the Bedlam podcast to get in for free on a media ticket. But some also say that he paid like 250 quid a ticket. But Callum says he bought them on pre-sale at like £90 or something.
No, more than that. Oh, Sky News! Breaking news! Sky News! I'm going to bring you some breaking news, whatever this is. Oh, Labour peer at centre of Starmer freebies row under investigation by the House of Lords. That's correct. Lord Ali is under investigation. Thank you. I paid 100 and... I can't remember.
You paid the cheapest price for him, didn't you?
I did. It was still above £100.
So you paid the cheapest price for him. And the whole thing of Ticketmaster being shit, as what we've known for ages, is finally coming out because they fucked up the Coldplay tickets too. Yeah. So people that were in the queue for Oasis didn't manage to get tickets. They had to do a different thing and bring more tickets out. And then 2-3 weeks later, Coldplay announced that they were going to be bringing out some tickets for their tour next year, and they fucked it up with that. And now now Ticketmaster are in all sorts of bother of shite.
All sorts of trouble and strife.
Yeah, and that's another thing the Labour government should sort out.
Yeah, one is inclined to agree.
It's not going to happen, though, is it?
Nope.
I'm looking forward to Saturday, you know.
Well, you're going to get really drunk and embarrass yourself in front of everyone.
No, it's I don't think I'd embarrass myself. I'm not. We've never been drunk together before.
Oh, no, we haven't.
No.
I'm trying to think of a time where we might have been.
You were supposed to come to the wedding before you double booked yourself.
Yeah, that wasn't a fun day.
Yeah, you were supposed to come to the wedding. We have had a couple of drinks together when we went to Barnsley away.
Oh, no, I was quite drunk then.
But I wasn't.
No, I was more than quite drunk then. I was absolutely shit-faced then.
I can remember loads of stuff of what happened on that day, and
to disclose any of them here.
The incident before the game of football, while we were sat on the stage in the Metrodome, just one glance up to the steward, and then turns to the person at the side of me that has just opened his mouth and projectile vomited everywhere.
That was not me.
No, it wasn't you, but we both got up and decided to move very quickly.
Yeah. Yes. Or the, shall we call them, incidents outside of the Metrodome. Full stop.
Full stop. Yeah, so it's not going to be anything like that. It's going to be a nice day. And it's one of those things of you look at the alcohol that you've bought and you go, is that going to be enough? And then you start teeing up the stuff that you don't normally drink and thinking, if that doesn't get drunk, I'm going to drink that directly out of the bottle with a straw. And that would be a bottle of wine.
Fuck me, we're all going to die.
Yeah. I don't. I hope not. I hope not. I think it's going to be a nice evening. We're going to get absolutely trolled, and it's going to be fun. And my sister's boyfriend is going to be like, no, no.
Yeah.
But yeah. So, what you up to for the rest of the day, Callum?
Nothing.
Are we going to
Big
go
fat
play
no.
FIFA?
I don't know. Sorry, that's just Lord. They've named it as Lord Ali.
Shall I beat you on FIFA again?
I don't think I can face that.
What really I should have done is I should have made sure that I recorded that goal that I scored as Rangers in the last minute against Celtic. Or just sort of got our reaction to it because it was the best reaction ever. Basically, for context, we both turned around and said that we weren't getting FIFA. 5 or 10 minutes later, we both bought FIFA. And then we played on FIFA. Then we played on FIFA for about 15 minutes for about the majority of the afternoon the other day. And yeah, it was quite fun. I chose Rangers and I chose Rangers and Callum chose Celtic, and I was 2-0 up at one point. Callum was fuming, made a change straight away after the first goal. And it got to the final minute of the game. It was 3-2 to Rangers, and I scored an overhead kick from a corner with Harry Suter, who was a central defender, and Callum died slowly.
What you're forgetting there as well, actually, is the last game we played, which was probably the best one of all.
Real Madrid versus Barcelona.
I think I found myself 4-0 down at one point.
It might be 5, wasn't it?
It could have been 5, and the game ended 5-4.
Yeah.
Testy times at the end.
Didn't I get a man sent off, though?
Yeah, but you got a man sent off in pretty much every game.
Apart from the Rangers versus Celtic game.
Which is impressive.
Yeah, really. I think at one point I had 4 players sent off, and that was with a Chinese team.
That was fab.
Yeah. Every single tackle I put in, I got carded for it. And the tackles that you didn't think were card worthy, I got sent off for.
Yeah. Yeah, you did. That was really good. I mean, not really good.
But it plays really well. I enjoyed it. It's really good.
It plays much better than the last one did when it first came out, but there are things that I want them to change.
Yeah. There's also FM25 coming out in the end of November that I'm really looking forward to.
I'm not.
You're not going to bother?
I'm going to bother. I'm just not looking forward to it.
I am. I think it's going to be quite good.
I think it's going to be shit.
Right. Shall we say his goodbyes then, Callum?
I think we should. I think this has very much run its course.
Yeah. So as we've said at the start of the episode, go follow Parley Square. That's where Callum is going to be on his sort of media sort of stuff, writing things about the government or anything. And I might have a tipple sometimes. So we'll see.
It's always there.
Our socials are on screen now for there, and in the end trail, you will see the pages for Boris Johnson. So, Dave, just catching up with me. You will see the social medias for the Bedlam podcast. Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram. Go follow us on Twitter. Literally, we will be back because I keep forgetting to do a podcast, and then it takes money out of my account.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, okay then. So yeah, we have to keep going.
We can't stop.
No, can't stop. But thanks very much. Lots of love. Many thanks for all the birthday messages for the people that have sent them already. And if you are lucky enough, we'll see you on Saturday. If not, bye.
Bye.